10 things they never taught you in school. Imagine graduating after 16 years of education. You've solved algebra, memorized historical dates, written countless exams. Maybe you even earned straight A's. Then one day, you're expected to manage money, pay taxes, negotiate your salary, deal with rejection, build healthy relationships, understand your emotions, and somehow, nobody ever taught you how. School prepares millions of people for tests. Life prepares everyone else for surprises. The strange part is, some of the most important skills you'll ever need aren't hidden in advanced textbooks. They're hidden in everyday life. Today, we're uncovering 10 things they never taught you in school, but probably should have. And by the end of this video, you might realize that the most valuable education you'll ever receive starts after graduation. Before we begin, this isn't an attack on schools. Schools teach mathematics, science, history, languages. Those subjects matter. Without them, society wouldn't function. But education and schooling aren't exactly the same thing. School gives you information. Life asks you what you're going to do with it. Think about it. Nobody hands you a manual for adulthood. One day, you're expected to understand mortgages, insurance, investments, mental health, communication, career decisions, relationships, and raising children. It's almost like finishing the tutorial, only to discover the real game has completely different rules. So let's begin with the lesson almost everyone wishes they'd learned much earlier. Number 10. Money works differently than you think. When people ask children what they want to be when they grow up, many answer with careers: doctor, lawyer, engineer, athlete. Rarely does anyone answer, "I want to understand money." Yet money quietly affects almost every decision you'll ever make. Here's something surprising. Earning more money doesn't automatically make you wealthy. Imagine two people. One earns $50,000 each year, the other earns $150,000. Most people assume the second person becomes richer. But what if the first person saves consistently, invests wisely, avoids unnecessary debt, and lives below their means, while the second spends everything trying to appear successful? Suddenly, the outcome changes completely. Income is what you earn. Wealth is what you keep. Warren Buffett understood this remarkably early. At just 11 years old, he bought his first stock, not because he wanted instant riches, but because he understood something most adults still ignore. Money can work for you, even while you sleep. Decades later, despite becoming one of the richest people in history, he still lives in the same house he bought in 1958. Not because he has to, because he understands the difference between looking rich and being rich. Schools often teach us how to calculate percentages, but rarely how compound interest quietly transforms small investments into enormous wealth over decades. That's one lesson no final exam ever covered. Of course, understanding money isn't enough, because the internet has made one skill more valuable than ever before: knowing how to think. Number 9. Thinking is different from memorizing. Every minute, thousands of articles are published, millions of videos are uploaded, billions of posts race across social media. Information has never been more accessible. Ironically, truth has never been harder to recognize. School often rewards students for remembering answers. Life rewards people who ask better questions. Who wrote this? Why are they saying it? What's the evidence? Who benefits if I believe this? Imagine reading a headline that says, "This simple trick burns belly fat overnight." It sounds exciting. That's exactly why it spreads. Critical thinking isn't about being skeptical of everything. It's about resisting the urge to believe everything. Scammers understand something psychologists have known for decades. Emotion travels faster than logic. Create enough urgency, enough fear, enough excitement, and people stop analyzing, they simply react. Which leads to something even more fascinating. Our brains are constantly being influenced without us realizing it. Number 8. Your brain is easier to fool than you think. Imagine walking into a supermarket. Your goal is simple: buy milk. 10 minutes later, you're walking out with chocolate, chips, a scented candle, and somehow a houseplant. How did that happen? Probably not by accident. Stores are carefully designed to influence your decisions. Fresh bakery smells make you hungrier. Popular products sit directly at eye level. Music changes how quickly you walk. Sale signs create urgency. Even the route through the store encourages extra purchases. Psychologists call many of these influences nudges, small changes in the environment that affect our choices without forcing them. The same thing happens online. Ever noticed how every app proudly announces over 50 million users? That's social proof. Our brains assume if everyone else is doing it, it must be a good idea. The problem? Crowds aren't always correct. History proves that repeatedly. Understanding psychology doesn't make you impossible to manipulate, but it makes manipulation much easier to recognize. And sometimes, that's enough to change the decisions that shape your entire future. But here's something even stranger. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid one experience at all costs: failure. Ironically, it might be the greatest teacher you'll ever have. Number 7. Failure isn't your enemy. Imagine spending 5 years building something, every day, thousands of hours, only for it to fail. Most people would quit. James Dyson didn't. His first vacuum cleaner prototype didn't work. Neither did the second, or the 100th, or the 1000th. In fact, he built 5,126 prototypes before finally creating the product that made him famous. Think about that for a moment. Most of us become discouraged after failing twice. He failed over 5,000 times. Today, his company is worth billions. People love celebrating success. They rarely see the failures that built it. School unintentionally teaches us that mistakes are embarrassing. Wrong answers lose marks. Failed exams lower grades. Life teaches something completely different. Mistakes are data. Every failure tells you something the previous attempt couldn't. The people we admire most aren't those who never failed. They're the ones who kept learning after failure. Because success doesn't erase failure, it grows from it. So far, we've learned that money isn't wealth. Thinking is more valuable than memorizing. Our brains are constantly being influenced, and failure is often the first step toward mastery. But the next lessons become even more personal. James Dyson didn't succeed because he avoided failure. He succeeded because he learned something from every failed attempt. That raises an interesting question. If failure helps us learn, why does school spend so much time teaching us to avoid mistakes? Maybe it's because nobody ever explained how our brains actually work. Number 6. Your brain doesn't learn the way you think. Think back to the night before an important exam. Books everywhere, coffee on the desk, maybe even a promise to yourself. Tonight I'm going to study until I know everything. Hours later, you've read the same chapter 3 times. It feels familiar, but the next morning, half of it has disappeared. That's because familiarity isn't the same as learning. Your brain isn't a storage drive, it's a pattern recognition machine. Reading something over and over again makes it feel easier. Psychologists call this the illusion of competence. You think you've learned it, simply because you've seen it before. Real learning happens when your brain struggles, when you try to explain an idea without looking at your notes, when you teach someone else, when you solve a problem from memory instead of copying the solution. That tiny moment of difficulty is exactly what strengthens the memory. And here's something many students discover too late. Sleep isn't wasting study time, it's part of the learning process. While you sleep, your brain organizes information, strengthens memories, and filters out what isn't important. Pulling an all-nighter might feel productive, but in many cases, it makes remembering harder. Maybe that's why the smartest people aren't always the ones who study the longest. They're often the ones who study the smartest. But even if you understand how your brain learns, life still asks you to master another skill, one that quietly affects almost every conversation you'll ever have. Negotiation. Number 5. Everything is a negotiate. When people hear the word negotiation, they usually imagine billion-dollar business deals, a room full of executives, expensive suits, stacks of contracts. Reality is much simpler. You negotiate every single day. choosing where to eat with friends, convincing your parents, asking your boss for a raise, buying a used phone, discussing rent, even deciding whose turn it is to wash the dishes. That's negotiation. The biggest mistake people make? Thinking negotiation is about winning. The best negotiators don't try to defeat the other person. They try to understand them. Imagine walking into a car dealership. Instead of immediately asking, "What's your lowest price?" you ask, "What makes this model different from the others?" Suddenly, the conversation changes. Questions reveal information. Information creates opportunities. Here's another trick. Silence. Most people become uncomfortable after making an offer. They keep talking. They justify themselves. Sometimes they even lower their own price before the other person says a single word. Experienced negotiators know that silence has power. People naturally want to fill empty space, and often they reveal more than they intended. School teaches us to answer questions. Life rewards us for asking better ones. If you're enjoying this video, and you love psychology, science, history, and fascinating life lessons, consider subscribing because every week, we explore the ideas school never had time to teach. Now, let's talk about something even more valuable than money. Something every human receives in exactly the same amount. Number 4, time is your greatest investment. Imagine receiving $86,400 every morning. There's just one condition. Whatever you don't spend by midnight disappears forever. No savings, no refunds, no second chances. You'd probably think very carefully before wasting even a single dollar. Now replace those dollars with seconds. Every day, life deposits exactly 86,400 seconds into your account. Unlike money, you can never earn more. No billionaire can buy an extra hour. No scientist has discovered a way to pause time, yet many of us spend it without even noticing. One more video, one more scroll, one more hour that somehow disappears. The problem isn't entertainment. The problem is unconscious living. The world's most successful people don't necessarily have more time. They simply spend it differently. They understand something most of us forget. Being busy isn't the same as making progress. Checking notifications all day feels productive. Actually moving closer to your goals is something entirely different. Time isn't just something you have, it's something you're becoming. Every hour you spend today quietly builds the person you'll become tomorrow. But what if success isn't determined by intelligence, or money, or even time? What if it depends on something much harder to measure? How well you understand people, including yourself. Number 3, emotional intelligence. Imagine 2 employees, both graduated from excellent universities. Both are equally skilled. One quickly becomes a respected leader. The other struggles to work with anyone. The difference isn't IQ. It's emotional intelligence, knowing how to recognize emotions without allowing them to control your decisions. Have you ever written an angry message, then deleted it before pressing send? That small pause is emotional intelligence. It isn't about ignoring feelings. It's about choosing your response instead of reacting automatically. People remember how you make them feel. A manager who listens earns more loyalty than one who only gives orders. A friend who understands earns more trust than one who's always right. In many areas of life, people don't leave jobs. They leave bad relationships. The same lesson applies everywhere. Communication isn't just speaking, it's understanding. And that's something no multiple choice exam can truly measure. Understanding emotions changes your relationships. But one final lesson changes your future. Because success has been misunderstood for generations. Number 2, success is built through habits, not talent. Everyone wants success. Very few people fall in love with the process. We admire athletes lifting trophies, but rarely think about the thousands of mornings they trained before sunrise. We celebrate best-selling authors, not the years they spent writing pages nobody would ever read. Success isn't usually one big moment. It's hundreds of tiny decisions made consistently. reading 10 pages instead of scrolling, going for a walk instead of skipping it, saving a little money every month, practicing one skill every day. These actions seem insignificant until one day, people call you an overnight success. Here's the truth. Talent might open the first door, but habits decide how far you go. Because your future isn't built by what you do once, it's built by what you do every single day. But even great habits aren't enough, because the world doesn't stay the same. It keeps changing. Which brings us to the most important lesson of all. Number 1, the people who never stop learning always win. Think about the jobs that existed 20 years ago. Now think about the jobs that exist today. AI engineers, content creators, app developers, prompt engineers. Many of today's careers didn't even exist when our parents were in school. That's the problem with relying only on what you learned in a classroom. Knowledge expires, curiosity doesn't. The most successful people aren't always the smartest. They're the fastest learners. When technology changes, they adapt. When industries change, they learn. When life changes, they grow. Jeff Bezos once said, "What's dangerous is not to evolve." Because in today's world, the biggest advantage isn't having all the answers. It's being willing to keep asking better questions. Your diploma might help you get your first opportunity, but your willingness to keep learning will determine every opportunity after that. School gives you an education. Lifelong learning gives you an advantage. And that's a lesson no classroom can teach. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more videos exploring psychology, history, science, and the fascinating ideas hidden beneath everyday life.